Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is not Josh Wagner, but my name is Johan Meijer. I'm Johan Meijer from Fluitec. I'm very pleased to introduce the the next session, and I'm even more pleased because I have to introduce I can introduce my CEO, Pierre Vanderkelen.
Oh, oh, oh.
Pierre is our CEO at Fluitec, and he will be presenting for you a paper entitled Sustainability, Social, Economic, Environment. Why does it matter? We will launch you in a few minutes also the code. The code for Pierre's presentation is FL4T. I will show it just in a few minutes again. The presentation for Pierre will take place. And I will now hand over the screen. Pierre, it's all yours. Good luck.
Thank you, Joop. Can you see my screen? Yes. Thank you so much. So I think with such an introduction, I don't need to tell you a lot more. I'm very pleased that Jo is my moderator. Jo and I know each other now since 2009 when I joined Fluitec, and he's actually the one who hired me. So even more pleased to be on this presentation. Just a few words. I'm a nuclear engineer by background. I worked in utilities for a while. Then I did a break for an MBA, and then I joined Fluitec. And since then, there has never been a boring day. I've done a lot of things like all of us at Fluitec. A little bit of a link with what I'm presenting today is I'm also giving my time pro bono to the Solar Impulse Foundation. So that foundation, I will explain a little bit more about them later in the slides, but it connects well with the topic. So today we are going to speak about sustainability and why it matters. We hear a lot about sustainability in the news, in the media, and I think sometimes a little bit too much. But it's a very current topic, and I think it's a great way here to start with some words from Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I know for the ones who read a little bit, he wrote quite some books, but he was also an adventurer and a pilot. You can see a picture of him here. This little guy here is called Le Petit Prince, is also very well known in the books. And he wrote in one of his books, as for the future, your task is not to foresee it, but to enable it. And I think this is a beautiful way to start this presentation, because we are not trying to have a crystal ball and say, well, what is it going to be like in 10, 20 years from now? But we know we need to do something, and we need to enable it. And there are ways to do that. But first, let's start with some definitions. The source here is Oxford Dictionary. If you look at sustainability, they will say the ability to be maintained at a certain rate or level. As an example, the sustainability of economic growth. Or the avoidance of depletion of natural resources in order to maintain an ecological balance. As an example, the pursuit of global environment sustainability. This is quite important that we set this as a backbone to the presentation as a definition. So we want to maintain, we need to grow, we are growing, but we need to do this in a way that we can maintain that over the coming years and decades. And moreover, if we look at the environment, it should not be detrimental to the environment. But of course, it's not, if you take a broader view at this, it's not only the environment. And you can really go one level higher and speak about corporate sustainability. And if you look at corporate sustainability, there are four major types. And I will go over these types here. The first one is obviously environmental. And this here refers to the belief that we, as human beings and as employees and employers, should behave in a way that is good or as environmental friendly as possible. So there are many ways to do that. For instance, reducing pollution, greenhouse gas emissions, the use of single-use plastics, the water consumption at the office or in your production, and the way you treat wastes. But of course, we have more and more renewable energy as an option as corporates, as corporations, as well as individuals. So the use of these, for instance, here in the Netherlands where I live, you can go with one utility that is 100% wind turbine or wind energy. So this is a choice you make, and it's not always more expensive. And finally, you can also offsetting negative impact. So you can plant trees, you can fund research, you can do donations, and so on. If you look at ethical, it's also very important. And here you are more looking at how do you act in an ethical manner in your company. And there's many ways that, you know, for instance, people are the most important thing in your company. One of the most important things in your company is your employees, how you treat them. Yeah, you would be surprised. There's many companies where there's very big differences with, you know, there's no minimum wage. Not really in Europe or in the US, but in certain countries, there's, you know, made use of child labor. There's a lot of things that can be improved or are sometimes wrong. So that ethical lens is also key here. By the way, I encourage you to have a look at this here, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC report, which you can find a link here. It's very interesting. It's very rich. There's plenty of things to read on that website. So we spoke about number 1, number 2. Number 3 and number 4 are philanthropic responsibility and economic responsibility. So if you look at philanthropic, this is going even one level higher, and it's to use your resources to make the world a better place for society and for the environment. So this can be done in many different ways. Here at LRVS, since day one, so the first edition was last year, we always donate a certain percentage of the profits we make on this event to a charity. So we'll do the same this year. We don't brag too much about it because there's no point doing this, but I think it's a way of giving back. But you know, you're all familiar with very large corporations who have their own charities, or the Bill Gates, so Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and many other institutes or foundations. There's also the economic responsibility, and of course, we spoke a little bit about this already. And the end goal here is not simply to maximize the profit in the company, but also to positively impact environment, people, and society. And this is really at the heart of our belief at Fluitec, and I'm sure many of you here listeners, that we are not on this planet only to make, you know, a business and to make profits, but also to do other things along the way. And this should be balanced. It's always a balance that you need to keep between these two. So a great way to classify all these goals is to look at the 17 United Nations development goals, and so they call it the SDGs. Again, you can go on their website. You're going to find a lot more information than what I'm giving you here, which is just a brief overview. But it's really a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all of us. And it's very broad, as you can see here. There are 17 goals, which are highlighted here at the bottom. It starts with no poverty, and of course, it's quite key. It seems, you know, in our countries, it seems less of an issue, but you would be surprised, of course. Zero hunger, a good health and well-being, quality education, obviously. It starts with kids. It's so important to make sure that our kids are growing with good fundamentals and a quality education. Gender equality, this is something we in our sector at Fluitec try to fight as much as possible to have more women, because it's really male dominated. We try to have more and more women at Fluitec. The clean water and the sanitations, affordable energy, etc., etc. So you have all these goals here. And the idea is to achieve all this by doing some actions by 2030. Now, if you look at labels, and I'll speak a little bit more about two labels that we know of, because just because we practiced it, we had to apply and we got these labels. But there's a lot of labels. There's really a lot of labels. Eco Label Index is also a quite interesting website. Says that there's over 400 labels in 246 countries, so almost all the countries, I guess, and 25 industries. Some, however, are go across industries, so they are not industry specific, and they are very international. And I think I would like to highlight these two. The first one is the B Corp, and the second one is Solar Impulse. They're very different. B Corp is US. I mean, it's originally a US label. Solar Impulse is a Swiss, so European from Switzerland label. What they look at in a B Corp label is to look at all aspects of your company. A little bit what we described here initially in the presentation with the four different type of corporate responsibilities. And they would look at, there's a list of 250 questions. They will look at how you treat your employees, how you deal with your supply chain, the environment, the customers. So really X-ray of the company. What is really good about this here is that it forces you as an employer to ask yourself, are we doing the right thing? Can we improve? And you really see the things that are important for them and in giving you the label. So I would encourage you or your company to explore this label. And there's a presentation about B Corp as well in this LRVS event. The Solar Impulse, and you see here efficient solution, is not looking at the company. The Solar Impulse Foundation is a foundation that is quite young, 10 plus years ago, that was started to look at solutions. And the idea initially was, okay, can we find 1,000 solutions that are efficient and that can also have a positive impact? And so they are not looking at any company in particular. You, as an inventor, for instance, can apply with your product. Lately, I was involved in the assessment of a company that does, special capsule for, capsules without aluminium, or basically recycle aluminium for the espresso machines. And they had a whole solution around that to make sure that there's less consumption and it's eco-friendly. But here it has to always be sustainable. It has to have a return on investment, so it needs to be continuing. It's not just one great idea that won't survive. And here, what people look at is, can we have a positive impact on the quality of life? So they had a lot of success. They are now beyond 1,000. So what they call beyond 1,000. So there's even more people who applied. And you have very diverse companies here. A lot of tech companies, but not only. So these are two labels in particular. Now, if we look at the benefits, and I think that is interesting here, because you need to be convinced that you do this for a reason, not only because you have great ideas and you have a good heart, but also because it's good for your company. And so most of the time it starts with some moral convictions that you want to do this as a leader, as a group of leaders in a company. You think it's important, and you put this at the forefront, and it's really your bearing, your direction as a company. But if you look now at more down to earth benefits, it's a powerful marketing tool. Of course, it positions your company in the eyes of consumers, investors, regulators, which is good because you're kind of helping the movement. What we have seen as well, it's improving employee engagement and satisfaction. Why? Well, simply because during one of these assessments, you have to look at, okay, how much is the top earner earning compared to the lowest earner in the company. This ratio should be as small as possible. In some companies, you have like enormous ratios. So they look at this. They look at, is there a minimum wage? Are all employees treated the same way? Meaning, in one region or the other, do they have the same for the same level, same skills? Do they have the same packages? So it has a good impact on your employees. It forces the business and the leaders of the company to look at their practices and look at how they hire people, how they manage people, source products, and so on. So again, it's really an introspection of the employer. And good thing about this, it often then leads to new ideas and innovation and solutions that you were not forced to look for because you were in kind of, okay, let's always do the same. So this is wonderful. By the way, on HBS, so on Harvard Business School online, you can find tons of information about this. So a business case here for sustainability. And yeah, I need to say this here because a lot of the times there's the mistaken belief that the cost will outweigh the benefits. So a lot of people would, not nowadays, but in the past would say, well, we're not going to do this. No, it's going to take us some time. We'll have to pay for this. It's expensive. We are not going to see return on this. Let's focus on profit only. And actually what this here, there's again a link here that you can find later in the notes, but on HBS. So Harvard Business School did quite some research on that, and they are not the only one. But most of the research, come with the same conclusion. The benefits are much higher than the cost, and it's always the same for us with lubricants. If you treat your lubricant well, if you invest in the right lubricant, maybe it's a premium lubricant, but at the bottom line, it's cheaper than going with low quality, low standards, which are going to give you all sorts of issues down the path. And it's a little bit the same here with sustainability and corporate social responsibility. So it's really redefining a new ecosystem where all stakeholders are involved. And it's not only your shareholders, but it's also your employees, the supply chain, and of course the environment. So this is my last slide where one more time I try to convince you of what you can do. And it starts today, and I think we can give our own little example here. We are a small company, but very proud to have the B Corp and the Solar Impulse label. And it starts with small steps. You need to first really be intentional about that. And I think in our company, I can take our company as an example. It was always there. Fill for life. Let's treat the oil as an asset, and so on. But you cannot go there if you do not partner with your employees. So you need to have this company culture where the employees also share this belief. More practically, water and electricity conservation at the office, in your operation, supply chain, recycling programs, chemical management. All these are steps that we are okay at, but we need to improve on because this is like a journey. You start somewhere, and then every 3 years or so you have to show that you have improved. We spoke about purchase energy with and efficient products, develop sustainability work policies. Finally, there's a great tool that you can use. You can go on B Corp. They have an online assessment tool that can be used to pre-screen and give you a feeling of what do you need to improve and get labeled. And that's the end of my presentation. I'll be very happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Pierre. Thank you so much. We have,
You're welcome, you.
yes, it's clear there's a lot of evolution going on, and I can witness how enlightening this is at Fluitec with let's say the directions we are taking under your motivation and your management, your leadership. So um, I don't see any questions. So I think it must have been very clear, your presentation.
Oh, it's
I
close to
think it.
lunchtime.
Oh no, well, I don't. Well, maybe yeah, but also I think there's probably a lot of. Okay, here. Um, there's a good question from our good friend Angus. I will
Yes,
show what he's
I
asking
see
for.
here. Yeah.
Solar Impulse
More clarification
Foundation.
on the application. Yeah, the application process is quite simple. I mean, you need to have a solution. So this is really you need to have a product or solution, and you think that this product or solution is bringing some advantages in terms of environmental mainly, so that it's done in a way that it will, for instance, reduce CO2 emissions or reduce waste. Usually these are the two important ones. Once you if you have that, you go on their website and you apply, and the application process is not too lengthy. That application is kind of would take you half a day or something. The B Corp application will take you weeks. It's a much broader one. Um, but yeah, so I hope it answered your question, Angus. Thanks.
Thank you, Angus, for your question. And yeah, it's a quite interesting site from Solar Impulse. You can find information. Pierre, what I also see is that it's the 1+1 = 3 rule in this whole sustainability
That's true. Yeah,
program. For example, we see companies, big OEMs like Siemens, working together with their customers like BASF or an Air Liquide merging. So I think that also is going to bring us also, because these are usually big market players, but economically and I mean, yeah, economically they have to follow all these rules now. So this
that's
last,
true.
yeah,
Yeah, that's true. It comes in certain areas of the world. It comes from regulations that, regulations are pushing and driving that.
yeah,
In other places, it's still not really an important aspect, but it will come. It has to.
yes, yeah,
And there's place for everyone. I think, big companies, of course, are the front runners, but a lot is done by much smaller companies,
yeah,
because,
yeah,
they are agile. It's much easier for them to be fast and
yeah.
implement some new policies.
But the fact that these large OEMs are doing, or it's gonna also accelerate to other regions. So I think that's I think Rich. So Rich is showing what a practical, a meaningful carbon effects.
Can invest in that employees value and encourage participation and further identification of sustainability opportunities within. So if I understand, thanks for your question, Rich. I think what companies can, well, there's plenty of things you can invest in. You can, like we said, you can donate to foundations who themselves are going to invest into, for instance, planting trees or offsetting CO2 emissions. Um, I think what is important here is to find something that resonates with your business, with your company and employees, something that is not too far away from their horizon. So we always try to not be too far. For instance, if you're a technology company, you will rather look at solutions, that are offsetting CO2 emissions in technologies, that are closer to your industries, oil and gas, for instance, for us.
Yeah,
Danny,
thank
good
you.
question.
That good. I show Danny's question.
Yeah,
How do you motivate SMEs to consider this when they are focused upon new business
yeah.
and generating revenue?
Well, that's
Yeah,
a great
yeah,
question, Danny. That's
yeah,
exactly us. We are an SME. We are a small company, and of course, believe me, it's every day. It's like looking at revenues and developing business and growing. But we have identified that we could not live without this. It's an important thing for us to also, at the same time, in parallel, to develop that corporate social responsibility. It takes some time, and it's of course something that we share, in the whole structure. I believe, you will motivate SMEs if they understand that there's in the end there's a return for them. That, like I showed, there's a return on the investment. So do it, even if you are an SME, you will benefit from that.
Hmm.
But great question, Danny. Yes.
Yeah, I think if I can contribute how I see that Fluitec, we do it with little steps,
Yeah.
and don't try to achieve like some. I mean, like some in the political world are saying achieving the
Mm,
big thing. I mean, we have
no.
to do it with little steps, and every little step will, I think, help us to contribute. So,
Well, we have a board member, just to finish on that, who used to say, "How do you eat an elephant?" Well, in slices. You can't eat the elephant in one day, right? So you slice it,
oh, oh,
and this is
that's a good,
what we try to do, and that will be the
that's a good
closing
one.
the closing remark.
Yeah, so we have another Mika. Thank you, Mika.
Oh, yeah.
Also, with okay, Pierre. Well, I think we are right on timing. So I think it's been
Thank you, Yo.
enlightening, and so hopefully we can have more presentation like this today. Enjoy, everybody. LRVS. There's another half day to go with exciting presentations. I will be back at 12:45 with a session I
Fabulous.
have to moderate. So thank you,
Thank
Pierre.
you so
All the
much,
best,
and I'll be later
everybody.
moderating two other
Everybody, yeah,
sessions. See you later.
you're
Bye bye.
welcome. Bye.
Cheers.